Audio Jungle.
Video. In the Kursk direction, GUR drones hit enemy targets in Tyatkino. In the Kursk direction, FPV drones of the main intelligence directorate of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine hit communications equipment, a building with personnel and a vehicle of the Russian army in the village of Tyatkino. This was announced by the GURMO on Facebook, publishing a video. In the village of Tyatkino, FPV drone attacks burned the means of communication, destroyed an enemy vehicle discovered by Ukrainian scouts and a building with personnel of the army of the aggressor state of Russia, the message says. The successful operation in the Kursk direction of the front was carried out by the Strike Reconnaissance Group, BIDMIC, of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine together with the soldiers of the State Border Service and the Military Intelligence Service. Pilots of kamikaze drones have demonstrated skill and continue to effectively hit Muscovites, added the GUR of the MOD. Russia has transferred about 50,000 troops to the Kursk region, weakening its positions on other front lines in Ukraine, the commander-in-chief of the Ukrainian Armed Forces Alexander Syrsky said. And the Crimean partisans found out that the occupiers were repairing military equipment from the front in the temporarily occupied Crimea and transferring it to the Kursk direction. The occupiers killed a man with a drone in the Kharkiv region. On Friday, October 11, the Russian occupiers attacked the village of Kozaka Lopan in the Kharkiv region. As a result of this shelling, one person was killed and another person was injured. According to the Kharkiv Regional Military Administration, Russian troops attacked a civilian vehicle in the Kharkiv district. The deceased was a 38-year-old man. His 56-year-old sister was injured due to severe stress caused by the attack. Earlier we wrote that on the evening of October 9, the occupiers struck the Odessa region with ballistic missiles. It is known that at least 5 people died, 9 people were injured. We will also remind you that on October 9, the Russian occupiers struck Kherson with a drone, as a result of which an elderly man died. The Rashists are trying to resume their active offensive in the Zaporozhye direction. British intelligence reports signs of intensifying offensive actions of the Russian army in the Zaporizhia region, in particular in the eastern part of this direction. According to the report, Russian troops captured the village of Kamiansk, which is located on the Zaporozhye-Melitopol highway. The area has been relatively quiet for more than a year, but it remains to be seen whether the Russians will be able to sustain a further offensive in the area. After the capture of Vuhledar in early October, the occupying forces only slightly advanced beyond the city, which is an important transport hub between the Zaporizhia and Donetsk directions. The main focus of Russian efforts is currently on Avdiivka and Pokrovsk. Russian forces have conducted a large number of operations in the area over the past week, setting the stage for an offensive on Pokrovsk and partially encircling Selidov, which is likely to be the next target in the coming weeks. We previously wrote that in the near future, the occupiers in the Kupiansk direction want to reach the left bank of the Oskil River and approach Kupiansk-Buzlovoy. We would also like to remind you that Russian troops may start offensive operations in the direction of Zaporozhye in about a week. Currently, the occupiers are conducting reconnaissance and search operations. In Sevastopol, the occupiers are simulating the repair of the sunken Rostov-on-Don submarine. In the temporarily occupied Sevastopol, the Russians are simulating the repair of the Rostov-on-Don submarine, which was sunk by the Defense Forces of Ukraine. This was reported by the Telegram channel, Crimean Wind. RIC everything. No repair work is being carried out on the damaged submarine, Rostov-on-Don, in Sevastopol, the message reads. It is noted that the submarine was hit by a missile strike on September 13, 2023, when it was in the dry dock of the Sevastopol shipyard. After the hole in the board was closed, the submarine was towed to the 13th Ship Repair Plant of the Black Sea Fleet of Russia in Killin Bay in early June. The submarine was hidden under a canopy of camouflage nets. The submarine, Rostov-on-Don, was attacked again on August 2 and sank in the water area of the plant. Later, the submarine was raised from the bottom by pumping ballast tanks. Since that time, no significant work has been carried out on the submarine, the source reports, and there is an imitation of the activities of the alleged commissioning of Rostov-on-Don. In reality, the submarine should be decommissioned, but no one wants to make such a decision, informs our source, the Telegram channel added. We will remind that the main Directorate of Intelligence of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine announced the receipt in June 2024 of Drakkar high-speed armored amphibious assault boats to strengthen the operational capabilities of special forces at sea. As of 6 o'clock on October 11, there are 2 enemy ships in the Black Sea that are carriers of Kalibr cruise missiles with a total salvo of up to 8 missiles. In the evening of October 9, the occupiers struck the Odessa region with ballistic missiles. It is known that at least 5 people died, 9 people were injured. Strike on the composition of the Shaheeds. In Russia, satellite images appeared. The other day, drones attacked warehouses near the city of Yeysk in the Krasnodar territory of the Russian Federation, as a result of which significant damage to the territory was recorded. Satellite images taken on October 11 by Planet Labs show damage to warehouse buildings, including the collapse of the roof of one of them and signs of fire. This strike occurred against the background of a recent attack by the Ukrainian Navy together with the Security Service of Ukraine on the Shahedov drone storage base located in the Krasnodar territory. According to the General Staff, about 400 attack drones were stored at this base, and the Ukrainian military recorded an accurate hit on the target. Earlier we wrote that in the Krasnodar territory, Russian Federation, on the night of October 9, air defense systems were working due to the fixation of drones. Against the background of the drone attack, explosions rang out in Yeysk. We will also remind you that the Bryansk region of Russia was attacked by attack drones. Anti-aircraft defense shot down more than a dozen attack drones. The first Lithuanian combat drones were delivered to warehouses. The first combat drones of Lithuanian production, intended for the Lithuanian Army and the Armed Forces of Ukraine, entered the military warehouses. This was reported by the press service of the Ministry of Defense of Lithuania. The Defense Resources Agency under the Ministry of National Defense bought combat drones for €8 million from 5 Lithuanian manufacturers: Dangolikis, RSI Europe, Eltmiltech, Granta Autonomy and Unmanned Defense Systems. More than 2.3 thousand of them at a cost of €3 million will be delivered to the Lithuanian Army, the Armed Forces of Ukraine, almost 5,000 drones of the same type for €5 million. These deliveries will take place by the end of this year. Combat drones manufactured by Lithuanian companies are purchased with all additional accessories, equipment for launch, management and training. They are fully assembled, so the drone operator only has to connect the ammunition. Each of the 5 drone manufacturers has developed its own unique solutions to reduce the impact of EU devices. We want to promote the production of drones and anti-drones in Lithuania, and the technologies and capabilities of drones are a necessary condition for the presence of modern armed forces. This acquisition is undoubtedly related to the fundamental interests of national security, said Lithuanian Defense Minister Laurynas Kasčiūnas. It will be recalled that the Ministry of Finance of Lithuania announced plans to allocate €36 million to expand the capacities of the state-owned manufacturer of small-caliber ammunition Gerais Ginkluotes Gamykla Gerait Armament Factory, or GGG, until 2027. By August of this year, more than 10 countries had joined the Czech initiative to purchase projectiles for the armed forces, which allocated various amounts. Germany contributed the most and earlier for all the funds, and the only country that only publicly promised money and did not transfer it was Poland. The ambassador of Ukraine in Prague, Vasyl Zavarich, said that Ukraine has already received more than a third of the 500,000 ammunition that should be handed over as part of the Czech initiative by the end of the year. Poland has joined the Czech Republic's initiative to purchase shells for Ukraine, but the country's contribution is being delayed, Polish Foreign Minister Radoslaw Sikorski said earlier. In Kupiansk, a man was killed and 2 women were injured as a result of shelling. In Kupiansk, Kharkiv Oblast, a man died as a result of Russian shelling, 2 women were injured, and there may be a person under the rubble. The Kharkiv Regional Military Administration reported this in Telegram. The enemy continues to terrorize the civilian population of Kharkiv region. Around 1600, a 67-year-old man died as a result of shelling in the city of Kupiansk. A 76-year-old woman experienced an acute reaction to stress. Another 68-year-old resident received aquabarotrauma. The victim was treated on the spot, the report says. According to preliminary data of OVA, one person may be under the rubble of the building. Emergency services are working at the place of impact. In addition, according to the administration, around 11:30 a 67-year-old man was wounded in the village of Shikivka of the Izium district as a result of enemy shelling. The injured was sent to a medical facility. We will remind that as a result of the Russian airstrike on Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region, 3 people were injured, and there is considerable destruction. Earlier we wrote that on October 10, Russian troops carried out an airstrike in the Kharkiv district, as a result of which at least 5 people were injured. We will also remind you that on October 9, the Russian occupiers shelled the outskirts of Mykolaiv. The warehouses were damaged. September became the month with the highest number of victims among civilians in Ukraine, In September, at least 208 civilians were killed and 1,220 were injured in Ukraine. Thus, September became the month with the highest number of victims among the civilian population in 2024. Such data are given in the monthly report of the United Nations Human Rights Monitoring Mission in Ukraine, UNHRM. The organization noted that 46% of the dead were over 60 years old. In addition, 9 children died and 76 were injured in September. Rocket attacks across the country, especially against the cities of Kharkiv and Zaporizhia, contributed to the increase in the number of victims. Near the front line, a large part of the casualties are due to attacks using UAVs, the report says. The vast majority of civilian casualties, 92%, and damage to educational and medical facilities, 96%, in September were, as before, recorded in the territory controlled by Ukraine. At least 30 shellings damaged or destroyed energy infrastructure, 25 in territory controlled by Ukraine and 5 in territory occupied by the Russian Federation. According to the latest report of the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, 589 civilians were killed and 2,685 were injured in Ukraine from June 1 to August 31, 2024 as a result of Russian aggression. We will also remind you that on September 30, the Russian invaders shelled the city of Mirnograd, Donetsk region. As a result of the attack, 1 person died, there is an injured person.